What's up, guys? So I went and seen Kick-Ass 2, and my expectations for this movie were kind of weird because I never really anticipated until the release date started getting closer and closer. I feel like no one really talked about this movie enough to get my anticipation high, but then the Rotten Tomatoes score came out and it was basically shit on, and they said it was a big miss. But there was really never any doubt in my mind that I was going to enjoy this movie, but to the extent that I would actually enjoy it, I never realized I would love it. And I loved Kick-Ass 1, and that was a great spoof of superhero origins and what Nicolas Cage did as Batman, basically. The spoof of Batman was great. And this one turns it into its own thing by spoofing the sequel of what a superhero movie should be. It's bigger, it's got more action, it's more violent, and it's this dark and gritty turn. And it may sound like this cliche expected, but they're going for that. They're aware of that, and they spoof it. And a lot of the things they do in this movie that normally would come off as cliche and cheesy, and you'd kind of go, of course they'd do that, it actually works within the extent of this movie because they're self-aware and they kind of wink at you. But when it wants to be serious, it ends up being a serious movie. But luckily it doesn't actually do that. It quickly moves past that and ends up just being the balls-to-the-wall fun that it should be. This movie starts off with Dave being in retirement as Kick-Ass, but because he's bored and he sees other people helping him and he gets that jump again to want to feel that rush of helping people, he decides to put the suit back on and help, or ask Mindy, who is Hit Girl, for help. And they train together quickly in the beginning of the movie through this mini montage. But then she starts her own side story of going to high school and trying to fit in and become a normal teenage girl. And while that's going on, Kick-Ass roams the streets and meets fellow superheroes who he inspired to don masks in the first movie. And while he teams up with them, they end up forming this team called Justice Forever, and they tackle criminal activity. And because they do that, the motherfucker, or should I say Red Mist, his name, it may sound stupid, but it's funny, and it works in this movie because it's so unappealing and so blunt. He decides to form his own superhero team, or not superhero, supervillain team, and this may seem like it's headed for disaster, but they make this work out pretty well. For a society that really can't have superheroes or supervillains, this movie kind of shows you that this is what it would be like to some extent, and it works out pretty well. The thing I was surprised at was how much I enjoyed the subbed team members, because there's the main Red Mist or motherfucker and Kick-Ass, but the side superheroes and supervillains I actually enjoyed quite a bit, and they weren't fleshed out, so I didn't expect to like them, but they were funny, and they brought a lot of nice action and jokes to the movie and kept the flow, and I didn't feel like they ever halted it. They actually continued its momentum. And Mother Russia is basically the motherfucker's go-to girl, and I thought she would be really cheesy, but she is she's like the Hit Girl version of supervillains because she isn't afraid to kill, unlike everyone else in this movie besides Hit Girl. They fight each other and they beat the crap out of each other, but they'll never actually really try to kill anybody, at least on purpose. And that's where Mother Russia goes against that and actually provides a nice little foe for Hit Girl. And with Hit Girl, I didn't really like her storyline of trying to mingle with the high school life, but I like what it led to because she realized that she is Hit Girl. She's always going to be Hit Girl, and there's nothing anyone can do to change that. That's who she's supposed to be. That's who Big Daddy trained her to be. Maybe he shouldn't have turned her into Hit Girl, but now that she is, that's who she wants to be. And I like that conclusion that she came to and that transformation that she realized. And she steals the show once again as Hit Girl. She is just awesome, but not in the same way as the first one. First one was just awesome because she was this 11-year-old girl who was doing these bizarre things, but in this one, the first time she dons the costume, I'm like a little startled because she's so much older, but she's just pure badass, and she says those immature little lines that she had in the first one, just more adult vibe, because it goes with that, her age. And Aaron Johnson, who plays Kick-Ass, does a nice job. He's a little too old, you can tell, but he is that character, and he is the actual real hero of this movie. And the one guy I really want to go out of my way to mention is Jim Carrey as Colonel Stars and Stripes. He was great in this movie, and I wish he was in it more. I liked what he brought to the movie and his character, what it stood for and how it moved the plot. But if he could have been in the movie a little bit more, I would have might have loved it. He could have been that Big Daddy type character that we all loved in the first one. But it's weird that not weird, but it's fun that when these two superheroes and supervillains come together, I just get this like Dark Knight gag out of it, or Dark Knight Rises, because they all face each other just like in Dark Knight Rises, and they all come running at each other, and they just have this one big giant brawl in the middle of a warehouse. And like I said, I like that Hit Girl and Mother Russia team up against each other, and they're both willing to kill, and they're the only two who really like that. And that fight sequence is worth the price of admission, and the build-up that it had met its expectations. And Kick-Ass and the Motherfuckers, 2-movie-long tension between each other comes to a nice little ending or conclusion of sorts. And I like where this film ended and its opportunity to continue on in this universe. It was nice how they answered how the city responds to these superheroes and supervillains, and how this world could actually work with them. It was a nice, fun, really fun comic book movie that it was easily the best of the summer. I mean, some might disagree with me, but this was definitely my favorite, and I don't know if that's where expectations come in, but I knew I was going to like it, but I just didn't realize that I would love this movie. And for that, I'm going to give Kick-Ass an 8.5 out of 10. If you've seen the movie, comment down below and tell me what you thought of it, and what you think would work out for a Kick-Ass 3 movie, or if they should just leave it as is and not do anymore. So until my next review, guys, I'll see you later.